The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss mulch and ground cover, as well as the reality of a backyard garden. Our guest is author Christy Wilhelmi will be with us, and will answer your garden questions. The hour's full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. And
welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along today. I am your host, Joey Barrett. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program here in 2025, through a radio app, through our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay or in-studio video replay. Thank you so much for tuning in. You want to be part of the program, you're certainly welcome to do such by sending us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com, or you can give us a call toll-free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Well, before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's joke of the week.
Why did the grape go out with a prune?
Why did I don't know.
Because he couldn't find a date.
The date.
Yeah, the prune. Yeah.
Prune date. Okay.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family home and yard protected from pests, insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. So let's talk about some mulch and ground cover.
Mulching and ground cover. Mulch is an important aspect of your garden because it suppresses weeds. It doesn't make them go away. It helps cover the soil so less sunlight gets to the soil, and in turn prevents the plants or some weeds from being able to germinate. It also retains moisture. It holds moisture in because the sun can't evaporate it from the soil. And it also, organic mulches can break down over the growing season and feed the soil. And that's what we encourage, is organic mulches, not synthetic mulches like wood chips or rock, because it doesn't. There's problems to those particular items. So we can. Some of these are common, some of these are uncommon, some of these can be controversial, and some of these may be universally accepted. Straw is a form of mulch, not hay. Hay is a grass that is cut for animal consumption. Straw is the stalks of barley, oats, wheat, whatever that stalk of the product is. There are organic types of straw. You'd have to figure out where you're purchasing it from, or the farmer itself, because there are farmers that do spray their wheat or herbicide in order to enhance the production and kill the weeds or bugs that are issued in bugs that are eating the wheat.
So let's talk about why you might not want to use hay. Hay would have seeds,
lots of seeds, and it's green, and it can, and it's a nitrogen. So as it breaks down, it's going to cause mold, mildew, introduce potential diseases, drop the seeds of the grasses that has been cut and baled, and it can rob some of the soil of nitrogen because of the breakdown process. It's a green.
Right. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind, that knowing the difference between hay and straw, and using straw versus hay. So grass clippings, when you use grass clippings, you want to kind of let them dry out, and then you want to use seed-free, chemical-free grass clippings. So if you spray something on your lawn, or you pay somebody to spray something on your lawn, you want to make sure that you don't use that. But if you just let your lawn grow as normal, you can use those grass clippings. So yeah, that's an option. Another one is leaves. Now, this is not obviously a a year-round option, but you can.
You may have a pile of leaves somewhere that's caught up in a fence or along the edge of the woods. Now, if you've got a wooded area and you have unlimited access of leaves, it's not really great to go into a wooded area with a wheelbarrow or some bags and just scrape the forest floor bare because you need those leaves for mulch. That's not a good ethical, natural procedure in which you need to do, because there's a balance in the forest that is required for things to do what it needs to do. And if you start scraping all of those leaves, you're going to disrupt some kind of balance in there, and there can be issues.
Right. So leaves are
free,
and they're usually in abundance in the fall. So that's an option. And if you are like, leaves break down, so if you put them over your garden in the fall, you could always, get more.
Yeah, you can put as much as you can, because you can always take them off in order to plant. But it comes, April, May, I don't have any leaves. Well, you're going to have to wait.
Right, you're going to have to wait. So you can also use newspaper. And
What's a newspaper?
This is very controversial.
Shredded paper.
Shredded paper
would be more of a universal, not acceptable thing. I don't know if there's even newspaper. I know there's like flyers from like hardware stores and big box stores and stuff like that.
You might have, you might be a newspaper person, or you might know a newspaper person. A lot of people now went back to reading print news because they like it. So
now in our shredded paper situation, we shred everything. Glossy, non-glossy. All the ink is soy-based.
Right.
And we just chuck it all in the compost pile, in the compost bin. And there's been times where we've experimented and kind of utilized shredded paper as kind of a water retention mechanism. Example, if we're planting tomatoes, we plant them deep. And the hole is, let's say, 7 inches deep, and the plant is 9 inches tall. So you're going to put 2 inches above the ground, and you're going to have 7 inches below the ground. I would put a handful of shredded paper at the very bottom of that hole, and then put my supplements, my fertilizer, plant the tomato, and then let it break down that way. Or if you're doing a trench of potatoes, that paper does hold moisture and will break down. And as long as you're not putting poundages in the ground, it's not going to cause mold, mildew, and rot for your vegetables in which you're trying to grow. And you can also use it as a ground cover too, type thing.
Right. So another option would be cardboard, and this is controversial because people say that there's the glue, there's formaldehyde, whatever.
Too much formaldehyde.
So
office reference.
Yeah. So that's use at your own discretion. Does it work great as a mulch? Yes. You can take your cardboard boxes from your online purchases and utilize them as mulch. You can certainly do that. You can lay them flat over your garden, or you could tear them up, whatever makes sense for you. It is something that people do.
Now let's look at some ground cover. Ground cover and mulch are two different, distinct things. Ground cover is something that's living, that's covering the ground. A mulch is something that typically is a byproduct of something else that is covering the ground for a temporary period in order to allow other plants to grow.
Right. So I would say definitely do your research.
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, your mileage may vary. And also don't trust just any blind advice, because you could have somebody that will tell you that mint is a good ground cover. And
it is.
It is, but it's also very invasive.
You will never get it out unless you use an herbicide to get rid of it.
So you might think, okay, I'm going to do this mint, but you have to be okay with the fact that you'll never get rid of it. So one option is Roman chamomile. It does form a nice mat of mulch. What is it called?
Ground cover. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has beautiful little flowers that kind of look like little daisies. So that could be a good option for you. And most of these are from zone 3 to 9.
Yeah. Strawberries. Strawberries can be a ground cover. They also have a beneficial of producing fruit for you as well. Thyme is another ground cover that will do very well in some partial shade areas. And this is the thing. If you've got an area in which a flower bed or side of the house where you've got bare soil, or you've potentially are concerned of an erosion situation, ground cover is a good option because it's going to cover the ground, create a barrier between the sun and the soil, and hold that soil in the place, or just simply liven up and make the area more aesthetically pleasing to your landscape.
Yeah, exactly. Another one I want to mention is called Scotch moss, and this basically forms just a low-lying ground cover that looks like moss, and then during the peak of the seasons, it will have these tiny white flowers. This is something you see a lot in botanical gardens or like botanical garden type places, public gardens, whatever you want to call them, because it does have a nice moss-like look, but it also has that flowering as well. So that is a good option. It does prefer like a full sun situation. So keep that in mind. And it does grow well. And sometimes people even use it as like a lawn substitute. So that's, if you're ever like, what's that, short mossy like plant at the botanical garden? That's probably what it is.
There you go. So, ground cover, mulch, great options, and we could do a whole show on just ground covers that may work well in your area. So your mileage may vary. Do some research. There will be a ground cover that will work for you, whether it's creeping thyme, whether it's strawberries, whether it's something else. What you need to meet your needs, there is a ground cover that will work for you.
So we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your veggies come from, canning, preserving, etc. But what about the meat? At Walton's, we want you to get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat products your way to your high standards. You want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created MeatJustSticks.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They even have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off orders of $50 or more.
When we return, we're going to discuss the reality of a backyard garden. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Want bigger blooms and better yields? Without the hassle, Carricade makes gardening easy with eco-friendly, effective solutions. Rated 4.8 stars, trusted by growers like you. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's RADIO10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com.
Save your back. Easily and quickly remove trees and shrubs from your property with the Weed Wrench. Find it at weed-wrench.com. Made in the USA. Use coupon code WEED to save $10 off your Weed Wrench at weed-wrench.com.
Brome is home to the Squirrel Buster brand of truly squirrel-proof bird feeder. We have been designing and manufacturing wild bird feeders since 1998. When a squirrel lands on the Squirrel Buster, its weight automatically closes the seed ports, denying access to the seed, but not harming the squirrels. We design products that are simple enough for anyone to use. They're built to last a long time and are backed by our lifetime care to extend the life of our products. We offer expert customer service to help owners with any needed maintenance or repairs. Visit brome.com for more information.
Chip Drop is a website. You can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door. For free, Chip Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account.
Good garden tools make gardening easier. Wisconsin-made Cobra Head tools simplify weeding, cultivating, digging, and planting. Favorites of professional gardeners, Cobra Head tools are durable, ergonomic, and easy to work with. Visit cobrahead.com and use coupon code SOIL for 10% off your order. Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
4-Jar Canning Supply, your one-stop shop for all your canning needs, where old ways meet new in every jar. They are a family with decades of home canning experience, offering top-quality products and outstanding service. Never run out of canning lids again. Whether you're a seasoned canner or just starting out, their extensive range of canning products will elevate your canning game. 4Jars.com. Inspired by the homemade preserves of our childhoods, they want to share that same joy with you. They deeply care about your family's health and understand the importance of homemade, nutritious meals. That's why they offer high-quality products to help you preserve your food. Quality canning lids, pressure canners, vacuum seal machines, and all the tools you need to get the job done. 4 Jars has you covered. Our canning lids provide the perfect airtight seal for any regular, wide, or gym-sized jar. With the thickest lids on the market, they provide long-lasting freshness, up to 18 months, and are rust-resistant, ensuring your preserves stay secure. Use code 4JARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars.com. That's FORJARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars, FORJARS.com. Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at jungseed.com.
Roots and Rhizomes is a family-owned and operated gardening company specializing in daylilies, irises, and perennials. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rootsrhizomes.com. That's code 15TG25. Totally Tomato is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of tomatoes online. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at totallytomato.com. That's code 15TG25. Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more. R.H. Shumway is a family-owned and operated gardening company with a large selection of seeds and plants online. You can use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rhshumway.com. That's code 15TG25.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Thank you for tuning in today and allowing us to be part of your world for a little bit. The reality of backyard gardening. Some of you may be tuning in for the very first time, or this will be the very first year that you're gardening, and we see things online and on TV, and there's a certain level of realistic or reality to them, and there's a certain level of cover-up, I guess is the word to say, because on YouTube, on the internet, time is unlimited. On TV, you've got 21 minutes or 26 minutes to tell a story. Failure's not an option. It's got to look great. Sell the advertisers.
So we're just keeping We're just keeping it real here.
Keeping it real.
Keep it real. Here's some reality. So this is one.
Yes.
Some people will say to me, "Oh, you garden? I kill all the plants. I kill plants."
Good,
and I'm like,
good.
I kill plants too. You do? Yes. Just because I've gardened for most of my adult life doesn't mean that I don't kill plants. It's a natural part.
You got to kill 1,000 plants before you're a good gardener, is what some professionals will tell you.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind. Another one is that
not every year is the same.
Yeah.
Just because last year was a great year. It's just like farming. It's just like, I don't know how many industries. I guess if you are an individual that goes to work 40 hours a week and you do your job and you go home, you may get a raise every year, status quo, everything's there. But on the other side, prices go up on this, prices go down on that. You're going to have to buy a car at some point. You're making a payment on something. Things are never the same.
Right.
Same thing with gardening. Very wet year, great. Very dry year, very hot year. Plants don't work well in certain areas. You got a bad set of plants. That is a realistic thing where seeds didn't germinate as well, or there was a cross in the seeds in which you got. We've got seeds where the spaghetti squash was not spaghetti squash. It was a cross between a pumpkin and a zucchini. And it kind of was it was like trying to eat a very unpleasant pumpkin.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. It was like woody kind of.
It was woody.
Yeah.
It looked like a spaghetti squash, but it was crossed. I think it was crossed with a zucchini. I know they can all cross. But it was like a zucchini spaghetti squash, and the spaghetti squash had no spaghetti tendencies to it. It was just like a pumpkin.
Right.
So, yeah. And you're going to have weeds If you don't have weeds in your garden, congratulations, happy for you. You must spend a tremendous amount of time because there is always weeds. And at whatever stage that you harvest them or remove them, that can pay dividends on the success of your garden, whether they choke your plants out or not. Now, other gardeners, if you want to look at that type of thing, there are gardeners that are homesteaders, what do you want to call it, survivalist gardeners. They will plant their garden and they will let the weeds go, and they don't harvest any weeds whatsoever. The strongest plants will survive. They harvest those plants, the tomatoes, the zucchini, the squash, save those seeds because those seeds are the strongest of that species, and they will continue to plant that stronger strain year after year to fight against the weeds.
Right. So, yeah. So weeds.
We don't keep up on weeds as much as we should.
No. Okay. So then on top of that, something might work for you, but not your neighbor. Or your neighbor might work for your neighbor, but not for you. For example, broccoli. For us, we cannot grow. But other people within our same growing zone, region, etc., neighborhood, even grow beautiful broccoli. And it might
Stop
not make
trying
sense.
if you can't do it.
Stop trying. Or you might have the patience for certain plants, and other people might not.
Well,
for example, potatoes.
If it doesn't work for you on a 3 or if it only works once out of 3 or 4 or 5 years, there's other plants that you are growing very successful in your garden that you should utilize and double that crop and put it where you were trying to grow those plants or those vegetables that weren't doing well, and maximize your tomatoes or your peppers or your eggplants, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And then supplement that through a farmer's market and keep your dollars in the local economy and do it that way, instead of the frustration of I keep growing this and it doesn't do any good.
I agree. Yes, definitely farmers markets, whatever. Or you could, make trades with people who can grow and maybe something you can grow. So if you start too big, you will give up. I shouldn't say you will give up.
The probability is pretty high.
Yeah, you'll get overwhelmed. You'll say, and then you'll become this person. I tried to garden once, and then blah, blah, blah.
Well, how much did you garden? 40 acres?
40, yeah, for 1 year.
Yeah.
Please don't garden 40 acres.
And you may think, the reality is 16 square feet, a 4x4 foot raised bed or ground garden seems very small. And yes, it is. However, if you have never gardened before and you've not learned the characteristics of specific plants that you want to grow because you like eating them, starting off small allows you to understand this plant does well in this condition. When it has this disease or this bug, it doesn't, and figuring out what works well in certain areas. Now, you can go as big as you want. That's fine. But be mindful of go half as big as what you think you can handle. If you think you can do 100 square feet, start with 50. Go half of what you think. Because whenever you are able to successfully achieve that goal of, I did 50 square feet, I had minimal amount of problems, we got a really good harvest, we're going to double next year. And then you can double the year after that when space is allowed in your area, in your backyard.
Absolutely. So another one is use your free resources. And this also ties in with cheap isn't always better. Free could be better, but free isn't always better either. So for example, if you have a neighbor who is like, if you want to rake my leaves, you can rake my leaves or whatever. If you're like, I'm going to take the leaves from the gutter and for some reason your neighbor has a problem with it, offer to rake their leaves. I don't know. I can't imagine a neighbor having that problem. But just think about free resources, things like coffee grounds. You can get coffee grounds, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. From most local coffee shops, you just give them a call and find out, sometimes you have to drop off a bucket. Sometimes they'll just save them for you, whatever works. However, cheap stuff like cheap potting soil.
Or free compost from the city. Yeah. May not be great because typically when the city picks up the material, or people drop off the material for the city to break down, and then it's free for the city to, or a small fee. You don't know what everybody else has put in there. Contaminated grass clippings, diseased plants,
or
chemicals, whatever has been mixed in, and then you're bringing it, putting in your garden, and all of a sudden you've got a tremendous mess on your hands that may or may not be able to be remitigated through natural means or time.
Or you're driving along, you took a little nice Sunday drive, you see the sign, free soil, free dirt, free whatever.
Free manure.
Or you're on like Craigslist or Marketplace or wherever, free. You don't necessarily want free because you don't necessarily know what's going on with it.
A free tomato cage, a free empty pots because you can scrub them out.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But it's just like anything else, whether you're a hunter, whether you're a fisher person, you like to go fishing, whether you're a car collector, whether you have a hobby of golf. There's a certain upfront expense that you know you're going to have in order to get the best quality pieces of equipment in order to do what you need to do. If you're love working on classic cars and rebuilding cars, there's a certain types of tools. There's cheap tools, real El Cheapo tools, and there's name brand quality trusted products that are tools that you know it's going to work no matter what. People will take and invest in those tools because they're going to be used every day. No different than with your soil. Your soil is used every day. So you want to get good quality soil. So
one thing I want to talk about for sure is don't fall for the gimmick. You'll see, you'll be at at a local drugstore, a big box store. Remember the upside down tomato planter? Or you might be at the local garden center and see a strawberry planter. Strawberries are growing on it. Tomatoes are growing on the tomato plants, etc. That's not good. So you want to think about if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
You shouldn't have fruit on things before you buy it.
Right.
That's not good.
And also the strawberry planter, strawberries are a perennial. So if you say hanging strawberry planter, it's not gonna.
I don't know the statistic, but let's say 99.5% of all strawberries live like 4 days after they've been picked and they've died because they're in a hanging basket and they forgot to be watered.
Now,
so does Mother Day flowers, by the way.
Or like the as seen on TV, not saying that all the as seen on TV stuff is bad, but sometimes those planter gimmicks or whatever, those aren't necessarily good. They might not make sense. If you're not sure, ask a gardener. Ask us.
Yeah, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. And we see these things, and I'm going to say this, but I'm going to have an asterisk beside it. You see those gimmicks because they want your money.
Yeah.
Now, we have a radio show, and you hear our advertisers throughout the program. And they are what pay the bills in order for us to be heard on your radio station. However, we spend about 1,000 hours a year and send about 20,000 emails to get the trusted 30 to 35 companies that we believe in, that we know are not gimmicks, that are trusted and work the products in which they sell so we can make you aware of them. Very different.
Right.
We have a conscience.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, I got your $20. Ha ha, you're going to buy again in 2 weeks.
Right. So another one is, don't be afraid to invest in nice things. So
just like we talked about with the soil. Right.
The soil, just even garden shears, pruners, etc.
It's $50, but it's $50. What is it? Buy once, cry once, and never have to buy again. Because we've bought shears for $2 or $3, and we're buying again the next year.
I know we had a trowel. Well, actually, I think somebody gave us that trowel, but it broke in half.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because it was so cheap. So look at the quality. Think about that. If you're not sure, if you're newer to gardening, you're like, I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep doing this, then you could buy the El Cheapo stuff. Right. And then if you invest your time and you want the better one once it breaks, because it will break, then you can invest in more. But just keep that in mind.
And irrigation, if you're going to be committed to this and you want to put a fence up around your garden to protect it from rabbits or deer, irrigation is another investment. Plants grow incredibly well when they have plenty of moisture and they're not thirsty all the time. A good irrigation system, we use dripworks.com, that have a timer. Some of these are our Wi-Fi. You can turn it on, you can turn it off wherever you're at in the world. It is a phenomenal investment that you will be amazed how much better and more productive your plants are when they have the adequate amount of water they need in order to grow. Well, Holly, soon it'll be warming up. We're getting very close. But with that, you will we'll probably have to start dealing with those beetles and grubs in which you've dealt with in years past.
Yeah, spring is here, and, there's those Japanese beetles. They're putting, laying the larva into the yard, into your grass, etc., and it's just a problem.
So, Grub Gone is the answer to that. Grub Gone can be applied to your turf, your garden, around ornamentals to control those grubs and lessen the impact of beetles that have on your yard this summer so you can enjoy it. Easy to apply commercial spreader, put it right in the ground around plants, in the soil. It is specifically designed to target those grub and beetle invaders without harming those beneficial insects that we all need around, like those bees, butterflies, and ladybugs.
And to be honest, it's the only non-chemical that works. You can find out more at phyllombioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. When we come back,
Christy Wilhelmi, author, will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company, is a landscaper you need. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com.
Do you have pets trying to leave your fenced area or pests trying to enter your fenced area or garden? Dig Defense provides peace of mind that your pets are contained safely and humanely in your yard, and other animals or pests stay out. With several sizes to pick from, Dig Defense is the easy, safe way to extend the protection of your fence, protecting your pets and your property. Find out more at stopthedig.com. Get higher yields with durable green bed raised garden bed kits designed to be drainable, breathable, pest resistant, and long-lasting. DurableGreenBed.com. Abundance guaranteed. Watering is the key to a healthy garden, but it can take up a lot of your time. Water less with Soil Moist. Grow beautiful plants with less water. Soil Moist polymers reduce your plant's watering by 50%, reduce transplant shock and soil compaction, and are effective in your soil for 3 to 5 years. It is an effective watering management aid that is ideal for internal and external plantings, such as trees, shrubs, containers, baskets, flower beds, vegetables, and turf. Soil Moist acts as a form of insurance for your plants and is environmentally friendly. It is easy to apply at the time of planting or transplanting. Spend more time doing what you enjoy and let Soil Moist work smarter for you. Bolster your plant's nutrient and water uptake with Soil Moist. Enhance microbial and plant growth. No need to spend extra time worrying about watering your plants. Easy to follow instructions right on the label. To find where to purchase and to see all their products, contact your local garden center or visit soilmoist.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Have insects such as aphids or fungal gnats invaded your plants? Fight back with Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bits. Organic Summit Year-Round Spray Oil kills insect pests on indoor and outdoor plants. All natural mosquito bits kill fungal gnats larvae in container plants. Both products are harmless to people, plants, and wildlife. Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bit are available at garden centers, hardware stores, and at SummitResponsibleSolutions.com. Hey listeners, we're excited to introduce to you Sun Warrior. They are well known for protein powders and supplements, and that they are 100% clean, plant-based, non-GMO, soy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, and without filler. Since you are into gardening and things that come from the earth, we thought you would appreciate that they offer high-quality, plant-based ingredients that come from our Mother Earth and that your body is craving. They've made a special code for you for 25% off your order. At checkout, enter Joey Holly 25 and save 25% on your order at sunwarrior.com. That coupon code JOEY HOLLY25 to save 25% off your order at sunwarrior.com. Tree Ivy Root Development System, the quickest way to get new trees on their feet. TreeIvy.com. Vermont Bean Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of seeds online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear, non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Miss any of those coupon codes or check out our sponsors at our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, under the Season 9 tab at the top of the page. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Christy Wilhelmi is the driving force behind Garden Nerd. She believes that gardening unifies both physical activity and healthy food choices by providing a grounding, spiritual, and creative outlet. She's dedicated herself to the study of organic gardening and its benefits. She is an author, speaker, and more. She has written 5 books, and her latest book just came out. It is called High Yield, Small Space Organic Gardening. Welcome to the program, Christy.
Thank you so much, Holly and Joey. Thanks for having me back.
Well, absolutely. We always are happy to have you on the program. And I want to start with this. You are a gardener now, but your background is in dance, theater, and drama. How did that transition go from the theater to the garden?
Yeah, it does sound like a weird transition, doesn't it? But it's really tied to more than 30 years ago, I was gravitating toward a vegetarian lifestyle. And I feel like, you know, the more I learned about our food system, the more I wanted control over it. And, you know, the more I read, and back then there was no real internet, and I just dove into learning about gardening by doing and by reading books and attending, conferences, and it just became something I got obsessed with and started absorbing information like a sponge. And I think because most gardening books are written for other places than Southern California, you know, with like real winter, like you're having. I feel like we had to figure it out for ourselves a little bit. And so I gravitated towards the science part of gardening in order to really get what was real. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of folklore out there about gardening, but it doesn't always apply everywhere. So I wanted to find the nuggets of information that worked everywhere, you know, that were true everywhere. And that's kind of what made me a garden nerd.
Yeah, there's that folklore that some things work well in this area. And then there's just the whole, well, Grandma told me I always should do this. And there is no proof whatsoever that works at all. And you're wasting your time, material. And then when you tell people that, they get really, really mad.
Yeah. And it's hard to extricate the truth from the stuff you've learned along the way. And so I like to back it up with studies and science and microscopes and stuff like that. Because it's hard to discount that when it's on the page.
It's hard to discount that, but there's still people that try awful hard.
You're right.
So, speaking of learning from each other and scientific facts, would you like to share with us the benefits of using worm castings around your plants and how that helps eliminate aphids?
Yeah, worm castings is one of those sciencey things that I found once I heard that from someone who is a very science-based gardener, Jeff Lowenfels he's written, I think, 4 books now, but it was Teaming with Microbes at the time. And, and he was talking about there's a particular enzyme in worm casting, that helps repel insects that are sucking insects like aphids, mealybugs, whitefly, and spider mites. And I looked into that. And the idea, we all know of worm castings to be a pretty good fertilizer. It's a micro, I would say, a broad spectrum of micronutrients that really help plants grow. But the piece that is often missing in that information is that worms don't have teeth. They have enzymatic mouth parts. So they're using enzymes to digest the food that they take in. And when they excrete it, what comes out the backside is worm castings, but it contains this enzyme called chitinase. And chitinase is something the plants take up when you put worm castings around the plant, and it takes it up into the stems and the tissue of the leaves, and it happens to help dissolve the exoskeletons of soft-bodied insects. So if you have aphids or mealybugs, whitefly, the sucking insects who are piercing the tissue of the plant and siphoning away the juices, they're taking in that chitinase. And it's kind of, I always joke, they're like, why am I falling apart? And then they leave. So when I run across a plant that's just infested with whitefly, which we have around here, a subtropical plant called hibiscus, which everybody loves to grow, but it's always full of whitefly. And so we put down worm castings, jet blast off the leaves, and within 2 weeks, those whitefly, the problem is pretty much gone because the enzyme is taking care of that issue. So now, my first line of defense was always worm casting.
Now, all worm castings are not created equal. You've got to look at the company and what's on the bag, because sometimes they like to put filler, and you're not getting 100% worm castings unless it says 100%. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I've always said that the best worm castings are the ones you make yourself at home, because you haven't had to go through the process of what they have to do in order to sterilize it to some degree, to put it in a bag and make it uniform in order to sell it. So if you're able to have a worm bin at home, which takes up a smaller footprint than compost bin, you have the most fresh, the most potent, amazing worm castings, and they're going to eat your food scraps too. So it's kind of a nice way to go.
For your example on the hibiscus, how large of a quantity are you applying around the plant?
That's a good question. We start with like a 1/4-inch layer from about 4 inches away from the trunk out to the branch tip, if you can do that. A little bit goes a long way. I mean, if all you've got is a little crumble, kind of handful or two, start with that. But if you're really going for a heavily infested plant, a good 1/4-inch layer is going to be enough. And I like to scratch it in and then water it in, and that does the trick.
So composting is easy, most people believe, when you have a big pile and equipment to turn it and all of that kind of thing. When most of us are small backyard gardens with limited amount of space. So what are some easy ways we can all compost on that lower, smaller scale that we don't have to have equipment to do such?
Yeah, I've already mentioned the worm bin. If you don't have enough room for a compost bin, vermiculture is a great idea. But there's always that caveat that you really shouldn't put onions or citrus peels in your worm bin. In a compost bin, worms can move to a safer place. They don't like those oils that come off of citrus and onions. But I feel like, compost bins, they don't take up too much space. If you have a formal bin or a tumbler, it's a cubic yard of space, basically. And I like to recommend that people have a second cubic yard of space available right next to the bin, so they can pull the bin off, set it down next to it, and then shovel with a shovel or a bucket, scoop off the top undecomposed material, put it back in the bin, and then harvest the finished compost off the bottom. That's about a half-hour workout, in my opinion. You can turn a pile in about a half an hour and get your cardio and back, exercise and stuff. But if that's not going to work for you, or if you don't even have that much space, I have colleagues, friends, and clients who have done the trench process, where you dig a trench at least a foot deep. You want to bury your food scraps at least a foot deep, unless you don't have critters who like to investigate. And bury your scraps in a trench over time. And then when you circle back around next season to plant something in that spot, it's going to grow like crazy. So you can utilize the space, any exposed soil that you have, to bury your scraps deep enough that they won't attract critters. And that's kind of the alternative if you don't have room for a compost bin or vermiculture.
Fantastic. So your newest book is High Yield Small Space Organic Gardening. What can our listeners expect when they pick up a copy, and what is maybe something unique or unique tip or notable to pique their interest additionally?
Yeah, the book is appropriately titled for folks who don't have a lot of space to grow. And I've spent my 32 years of gardening in a small space myself. So I started with a balcony, and then I got a patio, and then I got a community garden spot, 15 feet by 15 feet. And I still have that spot today, but I also have a home garden, so I'm able to branch out a little bit more. But I still utilize the small space gardening techniques to get as much as possible out of that small space. And for folks who don't have a whole lot of space to grow, this is going to be the thing for you. It'll give you techniques and strategies to grow as much as possible in that little space, whether it's containers, raised beds, in the ground, whatever. And I would say there are a couple of interesting strategies. And, in addition to talking about 4 different bio-intensive methods that people can use either alone or in combination to grow things more closely together and to have the soil that supports more bio-intensive gardening. But strategies like growing things, planting, strategies where you're planning out your space, where you're planting your crops tallest to shortest from north to south. And so, for example, you have on your north end of your bed, you've got a tall trellis with your cucumbers or your beans or your peas growing. And then in front of that, something mid-height, like Swiss chard. And then in front of that, that's where you're putting your lettuces and then your spinach, So you're not causing any shadow on any of your plants, so you're going to be able to utilize every square inch for growing something according to height. And it works really well for people who don't have a lot of space.
Fantastic. So the last time we had you on, we were talking about your mini fruit garden book. And since you are an expert in small space gardening, I did want to talk about, the benefits of growing your own, mini fruit garden, maybe some challenges, and why people should be encouraged to grow a mini fruit garden versus thinking about just buying the fruits or thinking it's too difficult.
Yeah, I think there are some fruits that are easier to grow than others, especially if you have, we have squirrels that come and take all of our stone fruits, but they don't touch our citrus. So we focus on citrus because we know we're going to get that. But there are other fruits that are easier to grow, like berries. If you want to plant some strawberries at home, or blueberries or blackberries, those are really easy to grow in a lot of places, even in containers. And I think to answer the question about why grow them at home, I think if you have a farmer's market where you can buy fruit, that means great. You've got a local source, and that's wonderful. But a lot of our fruits are imported from other countries. And I if we'd had this conversation two or 3 weeks ago or a month ago, I would have had a different answer for you. But right now we're looking at a high, set of tariffs coming in on all imported things, and that's, our strawberries and avocados and a lot of tomatoes and things like that coming from other countries. So, and berries, for sure, those are coming from northern climates where maybe we don't have them ourselves. So it's going to be a lot less expensive to grow them at home, if this situation continues for much longer. So, that's one reason. But also, in a fruit, depending on where you live, there are going to be varieties you can grow that you can't grow elsewhere, or maybe some heirloom varieties or heritage varieties that are going extinct. But if you get connected with, and this is so nerdy, if you get connected with your local rare fruit growers association, there are things called scion parties where you can go and exchange cuttings, of a rare heirloom apple that you wouldn't be able to buy at your farmer's market or in the grocery store. So if that floats your boat, I say go in that direction. Enjoy growing fruit at home.
Well, Christy, we absolutely love when you come on the program. We appreciate your time. How can people find out more about you and get your new book?
Sure, you can go to gardennerd.com. That's GARDENERD.com. And the book is available anywhere books are sold. And I always recommend that people order from their local independent bookseller rather than the big A, because they do not need our money. So support your local bookstore and order it from them.
Well, Christy, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. We thank you very much for that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's going to be Your Garden Questions, Our Garden Answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Azure Standard is America's premier family-owned online store for organic foods and healthy products for your home and garden. They deliver directly to families and commercial customers through over 3,500 drop points across all 50 states. Azure Standard strives to make grocery shopping easy, bringing all your needs to one convenient pickup location. As a trusted national health food distributor, Azure Standard offers bulk and specialty health foods to communities nationwide. With over 12,000 products, each one is approved and carefully sampled to ensure the highest quality. Azure Standard holds firm to non-GMO, organic, and natural standards. From food and beauty products to household items, nutritional supplements, animal care, hobby supplies, and even garden essentials, Azure Standard truly has everything for your daily living. Visit AzureStandard.com. That's AZURE Standard.com. Use promo code Joey and Holly 15 at checkout to get 15% off for new customers who open an account for the first time and place a minimum order of $100 or more, shipped to a drop location of your choice. That's code Joey and Holly 15 at AzureStandard.com. Azure Standard is AZURE Standard.com.
Edmonds Roses is a family-owned and operated rose company with the largest selection of roses online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at edmondroses.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at edmondsroses.com.
Wondering if your soil is ready for a successful spring planting season? At Grow Smarts, we make it easy to find out. With our at-home soil test kits, you can pinpoint exactly what your garden or lawn needs to thrive. Simply order online and we'll ship a test kit right to your door with everything you need, including a prepaid shipping label to send the item back. In just 2 business days, you'll receive clear, concise lab results highlighting your soil's pH levels and nutrient needs. Plus, our customized recommendations will guide you on the perfect fertilizers and amendments to use. No more guesswork, just healthier plants, vibrant flowers, and bountiful harvests. Right now, you can save 10% on your order with the code RADIO at growsmart.com. That's GROSMART.com with code RADIO. It's time to kick off your spring garden with confidence. Make the most of your soil and watch your garden flourish. Because when you grow smarter, your garden flourishes.
Check out ivorganics.com. It's America's leading garden product YouTube channel. IV Organic products are innovative, organic, effective, and proudly USA made to help you achieve your best growing season. Use coupon code RADIO10 at checkout and save 10% on your entire order at ivorganics.com. That coupon code again is RADIO10 to save 10% on your order at ivorganics.com. Mantis garden tiller cultivators are the perfect solution for any garden. With their gas-powered 2-cycle or 4-cycle engine, these powerful machines can till 9 or 16 inches of land without you breaking a sweat. And it doesn't stop there. Mantis's optional attachments allow you to aerate, plow, and more with the snap of a finger. Engineered with durability in mind, Mantis tiller cultivators will be your guaranteed garden companion for a long time. You can find more out and details at mantis.com.
My garden hasn't looked this good in a decade. That's what gardeners are saying about Carricade. No extra fertilizers, no harsh sprays, just thriving plants and massive blooms. Rated 4.8 stars. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's Radio10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com. A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA Bio-Preferred certified? You bet. Say goodbye to Roundup and hello to No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. Safe around pets, No More Weeds has a proprietary sticking agent to use around gardens, pools, decks, patios, anywhere there are weeds. Available online at natgreenproducts.com, Amazon, and Walmart.com. Order yours today. The same great company that brings you no more bugs. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you. A long time for your garden questions and our garden answers. You can submit your questions at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or toll free coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. If we can't get through, leave a message and we will call you back.
I love this question.
Okay.
Because, I'll explain. I'm switching from a ground level garden to raised beds this year, 12 by 2 feet by 6 feet, 12 inches high by 2 feet by 6 feet long. Should I collect and add worms to the new soil I add in? When I was a kid, I collected worms. Yeah. So that's why I think it's a cute question. You don't have to, unless you...
No, you're not going to add worms at all.
Yeah, you're not going to
even if you're on a concrete surface or hard surface, because you're bringing in good...
There should be worm
castings in some of this compost, but you're bringing in good soil. And if you put the bed on an already existing ground, whether you put cardboard down or no barrier at all to kill the grass off, or you remove the grass, worms are going to migrate into that zone of that raised bed, and you're not going to have any issue whatsoever.
Right. So no, you don't have to collect worms.
Don't collect worms, because it actually...
I kind of want to collect worms again.
Well, collect worms again.
Just kidding.
But they will come, and you can also... The collection of worms, or some people will think, I'll buy worms and add. You're bringing and introducing things into different ecosystems that are not going to coexist well, and something is going to perish.
Right. All right. So next question is, I ordered seed potatoes this year and they came quite early. I have stored them in a light tight cabinet in an unheated room in my home, but they're beginning to sprout. Is it too early to plant them in southeast Michigan? What can I do? I love the taste of fresh potatoes. The firm flesh does not allow for water to leach during boiling, and they make the fluffiest mashed potatoes, or even just plain old boiled potatoes soaked in butter. Of course, I really appreciate the radio show and look forward to your answer. He listens on Wham 1600. John listening out of Ann Arbor, Michigan on Wham 1600 AM and 92.7 FM. Thank you for your question, John. To answer the question, you want to, if you're going to plant your potatoes, you need your soil to be at root zone, which is 3 to 5 inches below soil grade, a minimum of 50 degrees consistent, meaning 50 degrees in the soil. The forecast shows nothing below 50 degrees. You can plant them. If you plant them too cold, if the soil is too cold, those potatoes will sit there and potentially rot, and you've wasted your purchase. What you want to do is take them out of that light, tight cabinet and set them in an area out of direct heat, away from direct heat, and in an indirect sunlight or ambient light. And you can put them in an egg carton. You can put them just
pour them in a box, one layer, and those eyes will begin to grow. When it's in that airtight position or cabinet, those potatoes they're stretching. They're looking for any sort of light, so they're growing long. And that's when you see these images of 3 or 4 or 5 foot long eyes that somebody's found in a cabinet somewhere. If you put them in indirect light, they're not going to do that. They're going to grow very slow and as they should. And then when the soil is appropriate temperature, you can go ahead and put them in the ground. But do not rush the potato planting. Wait until the soil is warm enough. And for those who are listening in very, very warm climates, if the soil temperature exceeds 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which is extremely warm soil, the plant will shut off and die. So there's an extreme on both ends. Well, so, keep that in mind. And, every potato the different varieties of potatoes are specifically nature has designed them.
Right.
One's good for fries, one's good for mashed potato. The mashed potato one doesn't do. They're very specific dishes.
I'm glad that John kind of highlighted that. So you can, I think, what is it? Yukon's or russet? Is it russet? Russet, yeah. But you can, if you're buying seed potatoes, you can. A lot of times these companies will have in their catalog, they're listing like these are good for this and this.
There's a few that's crossed over that will do a couple of different things. But what your intentions are is it's kind of like growing tomatoes. Well, if you're going to do a lot of canning, you want to grow big beefsteaks. You don't want to grow 1,000 little cherry tomatoes. It doesn't serve the purpose very well in that. So beware. And we talked about it, I think, 2 or 3 shows ago. You can grow store-bought potatoes if they were sprouting in your cabinet.
We got some sprouting right now.
Yeah, just try to figure out what variety they are so you know about what time they should be ready to harvest. Typically, some of them will flower, and that's the time when the plant starts dying back, and you should be able to get close to harvest. But about 10 weeks is generally the time frame.
Give or take.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time. We are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of the program, you can certainly visit it on our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, and underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page. Tune into the program next week where we will be talking about common plant diseases in your garden, as well as how important is companion planting and is it really what the industry says it is. Our guest is author Matt Mattis will be with us and will answer your garden questions. So until next week for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.